Evil Dead, The Last Escape. Rachel's heart beat in her chest, a steady thud that seemed out of place in the quiet of the cabin. The old structure groaned under the weight of time, its wooden beams creaking as if it had secrets to share, secrets that none of them were prepared for. She glanced around at her friends. Sam was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone, while Brian and Jake played cards at the table, laughing. The tension Rachel had felt since they arrived hadn't gone away, but she told herself it was just the isolation of the cabin, too far from civilization for comfort. "This place is creepy as hell," she muttered under her breath, but her voice was lost in the laughter of her friends. Jake caught her eye and smirked. "You're just spooked. You'll get used to it." Rachel shook her head but smiled back. He was right. It was all in her head. It was when Jake disappeared into the basement that things started to feel wrong. They didn't think much of it at first. Jake was always poking around, searching for anything that looked like it might be part of a horror movie set. But when he came back up, holding an old leather-bound book with strange symbols etched into the cover, Rachel's unease grew. "What's that?" Sam asked, squinting at it. "I don't know," Jake shrugged. "Found it in the basement. Might be an antique." The air grew still. The laughter died. Rachel wanted to tell him to put it down. She had a bad feeling about it, but instead, she watched as Jake flipped it open. The pages were thick and yellowed, as if they'd been untouched for centuries, and then he began to read aloud. The words were foreign, ancient, almost melodic, but with a sense of dread crawling beneath them. As Jake continued, a chill swept through the room. The wind outside picked up, rattling the windows. Suddenly, Sam stood up, her face contorted in pain. Her hands clutched her stomach and she staggered backward. "Jake, stop!" she gasped. But it was too late. Before Rachel could react, Sam's eyes rolled back in her head, her jaw cracking open as she lunged at Jake. She was no longer Sam, the girl who had spent hours gossiping with Rachel in high school. She was something else, something wrong. Jake screamed, but Sam was on him, biting into his throat with terrifying force. Blood sprayed the floor and Rachel froze, unable to process what she was seeing. It wasn't until Brian shouted her name that she snapped into motion. "Rachel, we need to go, now!" But there was no escaping. The cabin was alive with the sound of slamming doors, the windows shaking violently. From the dark corners, more figures stirred, twisted, grotesque versions of her friends. Their faces were no longer human. Rachel grabbed a fireplace poker, her hands shaking. Her breath was ragged, but she swung the weapon with everything she had. Brian's body crumpled to the ground, a single guttural laugh escaping his lips as he joined the ranks of the possessed. It was survival now. Rachel ran, hearing Sam's inhuman shrieks from behind her. She could still hear Jake's last terrified scream, but she couldn't stop. She had to escape. The cabin twisted around her. Hallways that weren't there a moment ago stretched into dark, never-ending tunnels. The walls seemed to close in as though the house itself was trying to consume her. She found the chainsaw in the corner of the room. Without hesitation, she grabbed it, firing the engine. It roared to life, loud and violent, and she charged at the nearest Deadite, the blade tearing through its body like paper. But there were more, always more. Rachel's arms were heavy, her breath ragged as she fought her way through the oncoming tide of terror. Her skin was torn and bloodied, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. Finally, she reached the back door. Her legs trembled and her vision blurred, but she pushed through. The night was cold. The woods sprawling out before her like an endless void. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Rachel ran, her mind numb with fear and adrenaline. She could still hear them, the voices in the wind calling her back. They would never let her go. And deep down, she knew the cabin wasn't done with her.
Bloody Mary's Horror Stories. Watch, like, and subscribe.